Hello and welcome to the podcast that gives you food for thought, an apple a day, and for those who want to have their cake and eat it too. I am Megan McCrory and I am with my beautiful and talented co-host Donna Levy-Hoffman. And today you are listening to a live stream episode of the So Freaking Healthy podcast.
Hey Megan, yes, it is me, Donna Levy-Hoffman, and today we're talking about rethinking the work-life balance and the problem with the hustle culture. And to talk to us about it is our special guest, Andrea Cristancho, the founder of the No Hustle Club. Hi, Andrea.
Hello. So nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's wonderful to meet you. So, Andrea, let's just start off with a little bit. If you could just share a little bit about yourself and, why work-life balance in the No Hustle Club?
Absolutely. So let me share. I'll start with a personal note. I'm Latina 100%. But not only that, I have been a 4-time expat international entrepreneur. So I've been an entrepreneur all my adult life. And that experience is really what brought me to where I am today as a health coach and as a mom, and also an ambassador and real supporter of saying no to the hustle. I like to say that I'm on a mission to stop the hustle culture burnout among founders. And there's a real reason for that. I've experienced burnout twice in my life. And, I guess for some people, third time is a charm. For me, it was a fourth. Basically, I had to learn the hard way that the only way I had to sustain a business growth was to slow down and rethink my priorities. So when I went to health coaching school, I really didn't go with the mentality of I'm going to go out into the world and serve my people. I went because I had a real serious burnout that really damaged my thyroid. And when I delivered my baby girl, first time mom, away from home, I delivered in South Africa. You can imagine that when you have a newborn and you cannot breastfeed your newborn, I was really panicking. Thank God for science and modern nutrition that you had, some baby formula right there, because it took 6 weeks for my pituitary to talk to my ovaries to then produce milk so I could feed my baby. When that experience really brought me to my senses, I realized first the gift of being a mom and being a healthy mom. And that's when I embarked into health coaching school. But not only that, it was just for me to realize, what have I done? Because for the past 20 years, I was a vegetarian. I was a yogini. I really was doing it by the book, air quotes, big ones out there, because I really didn't know what I didn't know. But as an entrepreneur, I learned that you had to give your 100%. And your 100% meant your 150%. And I did jeopardize my health. And when I didn't have the tools to really fix myself, I panicked because my mind was not enough. My body needed to calm down and rebalance in order just to stay alive myself and then to feed my baby girl. So that's really where, I came to senses. I understood that this lifestyle moving forward is not what I want. So I brought together my business knowledge with a healthy lifestyle, and then the coaching knowledge came to be. And that was sort of like a triad that built a bridge for myself to then carry on with my business career without having to blame my children for stopping me because now I'm a mom, I have no time for business. That was not an excuse I was going to use. And I just simply started to draft what I like to call the path to no hustle. And what that simply means is prioritizing what is serving me in this lifetime, in this present moment, in this season, in my life and my career. And the outcome of that decision was what I like to call integrating life and work. So, yes, that, the hustle, were, let's say old school terms means workaholism, right? The new business term is hustle. It's something I saw growing up. I do come from parents that gave it all to their careers, and they had a very good, stable career growth. So much so that coming from South America, I had an international education. So this meant that, they gave me everything they could give. But what they couldn't give was what they didn't know. And that's okay, right? We cannot blame them. But I did see them sacrificing life because of career. So I thought that was the way.
Yeah.
And when my chance to go out there into the world came, I was in China, 23 years old, starting my first business ever. Of course, I gave it all. And all meant, burning out to the point that one day I just walked into my apartment and just crawled in my sofa and started crying my eyes out nonstop. Like I just collapsed. And that was the moment where I just simply told myself, I don't do this to myself. What I like to call now, I don't do hustle. It's just not okay for me. And I guess as we grow, we start sort of placing policies around who we are and what we enjoy doing. Well, for me, it was very clear this is not it. But it took me, fast forward 10 years, to realize what it was that I really wanted. But when I then understood, okay, what had happened between those 10 years, between my first burnout and the second, was then that I woke up to allowing myself for that middle way of integration.
I love that. The one thing you started kind of explaining it, but I would love for you to go a little bit into detail, because I think the word hustle, just like the word health, just like pretty much all words, mean different things to different people, right? So, for me, hustle is like, I translate it into, I need to post things on social media because that's how people see me and blah, blah. And nowadays, everything is revolving around social media. But there's a little bit more to that. So I would love for you to kind of dig deeper into what does hustle actually mean to different people? And what are the negative effects that those could be on our culture and on our mental health and overall well-being?
Yes. Well, I do understand that the word hustle means so many things to many different people. And the way that, I like to define it, let's start the way I understand it, and then we can compare, right? For me, hustle means, it's a synonym of workaholism, as I said. But to me, it means pushing, and tugging, right? It has a negative connotation in the sense that when you are going against, gravity, things just get harder. All right. For me, the word hustle in I'm going to say the American culture, the understanding there is you've got to get the work done. All right. But when you go to the grammar, like to the dictionary, the word hustle means that push and toggle. So in my understanding, the way I use it is in the negative sense of, why do we need to push and pull? Like, there's no need for that. There is an easier way to do things, the way that is aligned with our values, our integrity, and our mission, like our purpose. So it's not about being lazy, and it's not about doing less and letting go. Totally in the country. It's about being smart on what you do and how you do it in a way that first serves you and not what the market or the next marketing, bro or gal is saying that works for them. Because that could absolutely work for them. And yes, hustle, hustle, hustle until your eyes bleed. Cool. That's your way, do it. My way is I absolutely choose integration instead. Because when I get smart and decide this and this is going to get me to where I want, it keeps me focused, it keeps me aligned, and it keeps me happy, healthy, and vibrant. And that energy is the one I want to sustain in order to see my business grow, in order to see my children grow, in order to really be the human I want to be.
Yeah.
Does that answer?
Yeah.
Definitely. I have a lot more questions, but
yeah. No, my turn. So I was also thinking as you're talking about, because the word hustle to me is related from my point of view to like the side hustle, which is like something you do on the side, and you're hustling, meaning that you're just always constantly working on something. But I feel like somehow maybe hustle also has a negative and positive connotation, like stress. Like you can have negative stress or you can have positive stress, or let's just say you can have negative or positive reactions to stress, right? So I feel like in some cases, there are some people that really thrive in a hustle, like in something that requires them to work really hard for a short period of time or on something, and there are other people who don't do, you know what I mean? Just like the same reactions people have with same stressors, people can have two drastically different reactions to that. What are your thoughts on that kind of negative versus positive framework of hustling?
Yes. Well, two sides of it. As you mentioned, the stress levels, like how we all take and measure and manage our stress is totally different, because it really has to do with circumstances, like the environment, and how well we're trained to take it and deal with it. I say the more I meditate, the more I can take. And if you were to ask me that 5 years ago, I would have said, I can't do it. I now seldom use the word can't, right? I just simply say, give me a minute, let me breathe, and I'll get back to it. So I do see that we evolve and understand how to handle that stress and then handle the hustle that life brings by. So that's on one end. The other end is the side hustle. And there I do see it as that's a positive side of the word. Because when we speak about a side hustle, we're speaking about I'm going to venture into something new. It could be your passion project, it could be your hobby, it could be, something that you are pursuing in parallel to something else that potentially could grow and take your 100% focus, but at the moment it can only receive 50 or less, right? So when it comes to side hustle, and the use of the word in that way, I believe on that positive side, yes, I 100% support venturing in a 50% because you do not want to let go and be irresponsible and then stress yourself out because you don't know what's going to happen. Where is that business going to grow, if it's going to grow, and then you still have bills to pay. Like, absolutely not. Don't do that. You do the side hustle then, right? But when I say I don't do hustle, it's when I say I'm not going to kill myself over whatever that project is, because it's just not worth it. Because if I'm killing myself, that means I'm running myself to the ground, and then the project or whatever it is not taking or is not receiving my very best. And there is where I say there's no need for that. We can be smart at the undertaking. And for that, we just need to come into alignment.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think that a lot of people would listen to you or to us right now and say, okay, but without the hustle, the business won't move, right? We won't get to from point A to point B to point C if we don't stick to our schedule or to our deadlines. How do you explain that to a person, and how do you make sure that the business is still running and running well while we're focusing on ourselves at the same time?
Yes, and I love that question. Really, that's what gets me up every single day, because that's where I say I'm on a mission. The reality, the way I see it, is that the smarter you get, the easier it's going to be to do that business. So it's not about, without hustle, you're not going to grow the business. I say with hustle, you're going to burn out and you're going to stop and jeopardize your own business. So rather align in a way that you place self-care front and center every single day of the week. Because the more you focus on getting smarter, feeling energized, really staying honest to your purpose, the easier it's going to be to get that business from point A to B, because it's just going to be smooth sailing coming from, inwards, like your effort, right? If you rather, think about it this way, you're going to run a soccer field holding your breath, all right? Good luck when you make it halfway. You're gonna stop, like full stop, and gasp for air, because you're not gonna be able to make it, most likely, because you haven't trained for it. But what if I tell you, friend, don't hold your breath. Let's just close our mouth and breathe through your nose and run steady. Steady pace gets you there. That's what I would answer to. Without hustle, you're not gonna grow the business. I simply beg to differ and say, with hustle, you're going to run your business to the ground. If you go for the other way, the alternative, what I present is integrate life and business, then I guarantee you that's going to be that winning proposition. So ditch the hustle.
You started talking in your intro a little bit about your burnout experiences, and in our pre-talk, in our pre-work with you, you had mentioned that you'd like to explain a little bit more about your burnout in China, as you mentioned, as a foreigner over there in your early 20s. So maybe you could just go into a little bit more depth about how that burnout, how you perceive the burnout to have happened leading up to that, and then also what you actually learned from that experience in a bit more detail than from the introduction.
Yes, definitely. So let me take you into a little story. I landed in China in 2006 when that dragon was waking up to development. So Shanghai, China was a city in absolute growth mode. I was standing in a whole new space of opportunities. And that's exactly where I said, I'm not going anywhere. This is my new home. And my entrepreneurial spirit kicked in. And that meant I was finishing my master's degree. And at the same time, I started my business, like the research phase, the idea creation. When I finished the degree, I just had the keys to my healthy snack bar, which back then was something revolutionary, because I had a shop in the middle of the financial district of Shanghai for people on the go. And I was offering something super new that was organic coffee, fresh fruit juices, and frozen yogurt. Like, it was something quite special, all on the go. It was really like, people, I want to feed you healthy as you're passing by. I did that for 18 straight months, from Monday to Monday, from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. all day, every day.
Wow.
My only joy was to wake up super early in the morning to make it to my yoga class and then go open the shop and push through all day until I close, home, rinse, repeat, back again. So that was really the best sure way. I was going to burn out, but I just didn't know because I was immersed in that environment where if I wasn't at the shop, I was doing deliveries, I was presenting at a chamber event, I was trying to, come up with new ways to bring more income into the business, and why not? So one day I just walked into the shop and I said, I cannot sustain this anymore. Mm-hmm. Not only that, I already felt it in my heart that it was heavy in my body. And yes, daily yoga kept me going. But, there was a point where enough was enough. And I realized, okay, what could happen if, how do I let go? Right? Mm-hmm. And that's when that day I walked and just cried and cried and cried nonstop. Like I really broke and I just didn't know what was happening. Like, as I like to say, I don't know which truck hit me, but when I understood, look, there's got to be a way, I decided to sell the business. Oh. And that's what I did. That was the out. It was time for me to step out and take care of myself. And that was the best exit strategy without me knowing that I was prioritizing myself, listening to, my intuition, which that word came into my world 20 years afterwards, okay? Like, let's just be clear here. But it was that inner voice, after a long conversation with my mom where she just simply, I kept on telling her, I cannot do this. And she kept on, hearing me sob and telling me, yes, you can. And that yes, you can was, yes, you can choose. Yes, you can do it your way. Yes, you can commit to what you want. Like, stop pressuring yourself because, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
It must have been so hard to come to that realization in a country that is known for its hustle as well.
Exactly.
China is known for like working people to death. And what, you were talking and what it reminded me of is actually the kind of new age of 4-day weekdays, right? Or work days, which I love the idea of. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of it. I'm like, just do it. Where, it's been proven that people actually work better and are happier in their work and are more productive by cutting down one more day. But giving them an extra day of weekend is doing huge wonder in the field. So I thought that was just my rant. That's all.
Yes. And mind you, I was 25 years old. So
yeah, and that was actually my question in terms of age, because I remember when I was 25 and I was freaking invincible, right? And I feel like I'm wondering if you had the same experience a little bit later, if you would have like held on as long, or if you would have switched something. Like, can you maybe think about like some alternate endings when you would have had that same experience at different times in your life?
Oh yes, I have gone through all the scenarios. I had to heal like my first failure, like I had to let go of that baby, that was really a transformation. And what would have I done differently? I would certainly have hired more staff to pull me out of the business and see the bigger picture. I would have asked for help. I would have had, mentors closer to me to advise me. As you very nicely said, feeling of I'm invisible was really what brought me down to the ground. Like I instead of raising my hand asking for help, I just simply said, I can do this. I've got to do this, which is not true. To grow a business, you require a set of skills. And as I like to say, it takes a village to grow a human. Well, it also takes a village to grow a business. And if you want to go far and grow wide and be proficient and make money with it, then rely on other humans, because you're an expert in what you do, but not in everything. And that was exactly what I didn't know back then. Like, I just simply said, okay, if I hire someone, then I have to spend more money. But that is investing in the business.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a brief break just to talk a quick second about the platform that we're using to stream today and record this episode is Restream.io. Now, this is not an advert for the company, not at all. We're not sponsored by them. Actually, the reason I'm doing this little break here is because Restream is co-headquartered in Austin, Texas, and Kiev, Ukraine. So since the conflict in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine has happened, Restream has been very active about, helping people be able to donate to proper organizations. So there is a QR code. If you're watching the video, there's a QR code on the screen. And if you're listening to this in the podcast later on, there's going to be a link in the show notes that is just one little place where you can go and show some support where, they're starting finished year. It's been a year, which is incredible to me. But I know Donna's done some aid work for them in the when it first started, but it's still going. So I think it's still necessary to talk about it. And if you have a couple dollars to give, I think that there's always going to be a need as long as this is still going on. So that's my little blurb there for Ukraine. And now I'd like to kind of shift a little bit, because the actual the title of this episode is Ditch the Work-Life Balance. Now, you've talked about life-work integration and work-life balance, but let's get into that a little bit more. So how do you define, because I did my homework, of course, Donna knows I do my homework. And so I looked around, like, what are the definitions of work-life balance and so on and so forth. So I have some ideas, but Andrea, how do you define work-life balance, and why do you think it needs to be rethought?
Yes. Let's say that has been that next evolution of, life after burnout. The definition of life-work balance for, as long as I knew, was the aim, like that pinnacle of health, equilibrium, and well-being. The truth of the matter is that I went on to seek that life-work balance. And every time I strive for it, when I finally said, okay, I think I'm getting it, something was falling. So the life-work balance as an equation means that there is a 50-50, equal place for life and work. And let's think about it. When we speak about life, we are humans living in different seasons in our life, and we are in constant change and evolution. So when we just say, okay, we have to put life in this bucket, okay? And then we look at work, and we are humans with, ambition, and we want to strive for a career. We want to make money with our business. We want to give to society. So that bucket, on that other half, then becomes that, counterbalance to life. So if you say life-work balance, we're right on a 50-50 match. And that's not true. Life is not on a 50-50. So when you were asking, okay, how did I feel about it? Well, when I went to seek again and again and again, I was bumping into, damn, I'm getting my math wrong. Why am I not staying in balance? The more I meditate, the more I breathe, the more yoga, the more everything, all the salads and everything in the world, probiotics included. I am not making this math right. Until 1 minute, I said, wait a minute, I think I got this wrong. Life is not a circus act. Why am I trying to walk on a wire? Like, there is no such thing as me staying in the center, doing that beautiful circus act. And yeah, look at me, how stable and balanced I am. There's no such thing. That's when I said, ditch that concept because it's a myth. What I believe is that when we get the chance, because we need to give ourselves that minute to say, what is serving me right now? What do I want to achieve? And with decision, really having agency in our lives, and the real truth agency is that you get to decide. And if that doesn't work, you choose again. And if that doesn't work again, then you choose again until you bring your own math and your own equilibrium. And that's what I like to call the real balance. And that real balance happens within. But outside world is looking as an integration of work and life. Because that thin line, the more we want to separate work life and real life, the more we are sabotaging ourselves. Because it's not that we wake up and we go to work and we become a different human and then we come back home and then we put on a different mask. No, that's not the way it goes. You wake up and you are you, and you make decisions throughout the day. But the more decisions you make towards that integration, the more in alignment you are, the happier you are, the better human you become, from mind, spirit, and body. So what I like to say is ditch that myth and instead go for micro habit, micro changes that are going to get you to decide what is serving you today, in this very minute, that gets you to achieving that next goal. That's the way I see it.
Interesting.
Please tell me that you have seen the show Severance. Have you watched Severance? Yes. Okay. Yes. I thought for sure she has seen this. Donna, have you seen this show? Okay. So, but it's on Apple TV Plus, but it's literally, they implant something in people's head so that when they come to work, it's like a new person. So whatever they do at work, that's called their innie, they don't know what's going on in the outside, and the outside person doesn't know what's going on in the inside. And so now that show is out there and it became so popular, I feel like that is like the perfect example of saying that's what the old kind of philosophy of work-life balance was when I'm at work, I'm at work, and when I'm at home, and I should not be checking my work emails at home, and I should not be thinking about my child's doctor's visit while I'm at work, which we all know doesn't happen. So I just think that show has opened up a really great analogy to say that is not real life. You cannot just turn it on and off in each location, and that's why this whole integration, or why it's a myth of having these two, and it's perfectly balanced. It's like it's on or it's off, and it's a great analogy for this type of topic.
I will definitely try to watch that show, but for the visual listeners, I think for what I was visualizing while you were talking, Andrea, was like, the old school is two circles. One is life, one is work, very separate from one another, not touching each other, not coming close to one another. Literally, there's just a road to drive to work and back. That's the only connection there, right? And then we're talking about this work-life balance where we're thinking maybe it's the circles are kind of like, overlap. And so now maybe that's what we're trying to do here, is somehow be okay with going to take the kid to the doctor in the middle of a workday type of mentality. But from what I'm hearing you say is like, for each person, those circles are going to be a different size, and the overlap is going to be different, and each person needs to find their kind of way to find the integration that you're talking about, where it doesn't, maybe one day we won't work at all because the kid is sick and I'm going to be with my kid now versus another day where I'm like, okay, cool. He's at school and I have all day and I can do this and I can do that. And I can also take some time to relax and meditate in that workday, official workday. I'm curious from you, what are some tips that you can help people visualize themselves going into that work-life integration?
My number one tip is let go of the guilt, number one, and right on, learn how to manage your energy. And here's why. We have, coming from that old school model where life-work balance is coming from, we also have the time management, right? So that old school model is telling us you've got to accommodate within 24 hours your 50-50 split. But rethinking, of the concept, what is really my invitation to speak about as founders and to really, when I say place self-care front center, is manage your energy. Understand what's happening when you sleep. Are you really recuperating to the point that you wake up energized to do something for yourself, for your family, for your business, for the environment, like whatever it is? Are you really waking up with a level of energy required in order to excel? Also, when we start the day, we are really living in a world where we're completely plugged in 24/7 because of digital technology, and we're super thankful for it. But try not to let that pace jank you from your real energy pace. Because if you're someone that needs a nap in the middle of the day, then allow yourself to take the nap. If you're someone who wakes up and gets its best work done early in the morning, then allow yourself for that time to exist. I am not a morning person, and I am not a night owl. And I really tried to fit myself in either or. It was just like, Jesus Christ, like, why am I such a weirdo? No, I'm someone who gets my best work done mid-morning. And when I discovered that, it was like, boom, genius came out of the box and got the best work done in 3 hours. And that's all I needed in the day. So ditching those old models and allowing yourself to understand who you are, what you need, and what time you need to get that done is going to get you there. So that would be my, tip number one. And then number two would be lock down. If it's an hour, 3 hours, or 5, whatever, as long as I am in my peak energy moment, lock that time, guard it, because that's your golden goose. That's really where your magic is happening. Why stay up and burn that midnight oil if you know it's not going to produce the same quality of work that if you produce it in your peak hours? So this is my sense of it.
No, I couldn't agree more. I see so many people who kind of go through, they claim to be night owls, but then they literally are just burning themselves to the ground. And then of course there's that vicious cycle of then you wake up tired. So you don't have that energy and you're just loading up on caffeine and chocolate and bread to just kind of keep you going throughout the day. And then by the moment evening comes where you should go to sleep, you're now hyped up and then you're a night owl. And then next day it's the same exact circle. So I totally agree. Yeah.
Yes. And, I put together a resource with 27 tips that I like to call well-being tips and tools to get you to practice self-care daily as a thriving founder without adding more onto your to-do list. The point is, with these tips, these are micro things that you do throughout the day that gets you to give more time to yourself without really having to consider, I've got to now get this done. For example, taping your mouth to sleep. I'm not sure if, listeners are aware of this. And I know that my only viral ever reel was when I really took a tape out of my mouth and said, who else is doing this? 5,000 views. That to me has been the viral story. Because when I discovered that I was going to bed and getting up tired, because you need to build awareness. That's the first step for everything we do in life. But when we speak about well-being, building that awareness, that's not something we are taught. You need to dedicate time to say, okay, how am I breathing right now? How am I feeling when I wake up? How's my appetite? When I understood that I was waking up tired, I of course blamed it to motherhood. By default, that was like, oh, of course, normal. Not normal. That is not normal. And then I said, all right, what is there that I could do? Because yes, I wake up and drink that coffee, or I used to, and nothing was happening. So I knew my mitochondria was not recharging. I went on to investigate and went on, down that rabbit hole. And I figured that the Buteyko technique, taping your mouth, meant that you were just using your nose, the only organ designed for breathing, just for starters. Nature knows better. So I understood, okay, let's give this a try. The outcome was fantastic. I was reducing the hours of sleep and waking up refreshed. So much so that my sinuses cleared first time in my life, and I'm on 40. So, it was a while. And then I understood, okay, then something else is going to happen. Yes, I became sharper, like less memory fog, less sugar cravings. Like there was a whole chain of, oh my God, if I use my nose while I'm asleep, my mitochondria recharges. Hence, I've got more power to push throughout the day. Just one little thing, a tape. That you go to the pharmacy, you get your micropore tape, boom. Yes, you have to take it as a principle that you're healthy, like all things according to what your doctor says and what your body is telling you, right? But I gave it a try and I'm never ever looking back. This is my way forward. Even my 2-year-old boy knows, oh, mommy, go put your tape. Like he's got into the trend as well. So these are the type of tips I like to give, not only to everyone who listens, but it's also part of my program. It's what part of what I teach within the No Hustle Club.
Yeah. And just for everybody watching, we do have a QR code for those tips. That's actually just a QR code to her main website. But if you scroll down all the way to the bottom on her main website, you'll see that those where you can sign up to get those tips. And if you're listening, we will have, of course, a link in the show notes for those tips as well. Cool. I think I missed my opportunity because I think Donna moved on too quickly because I had some more things to say about the work-life balance. I'm curious. I'm sorry. I know I'm regressing. I'm going backwards, but I'm curious. What are your thoughts on the book, The Work-Life Balance Myth by David McNeff? And as we're all three coaches from IIN, and in IIN as well as other health coaches, there's this life wheel, balance wheel, the perspective of that your life is as a form of a wheel where you have all these different wedges. And then also in his book, he also has 7 different domains. So it's kind of the same concept of having these different domains. And I thought that all kind of tied very nicely together because I feel like one of the things I also read was a lot of you talked about it, like you have 50%, you have to take it from work or you have to take it from life. And that is actually, those are just two components of your whole life. Like you can't, work is one component of a life. You have your relationships, you have your health, and you have all these other things. And we kind of didn't get into that meat and bones of like the rest of life that is not work. And also the idea that work should give to life. Like, maybe do you have some thoughts around, and I don't know if that ties into what you do with the No Hustle Club. Does that, I don't know if that's a good lead in or not, but maybe you could talk about those, balancing all the different aspects of your life as well and with work.
Absolutely. The wheel of life, as a tool is something that I do like to present as, that first sort of check-on point to then land into the concept of bio individuality, because it's not a one and done, exercise. This tool should always be with us because it serves us throughout life. And yes, the different, components, like what we like to call the primary food, right? When we speak about bioindividuality, environment, relationships, family, it's not that all of those feed our life, spirit, religion, whatever you believe. It's not just what we put on a plate and eat what feeds us. Now, the truth of the matter is that the more I coach, the more I see that people are completely disconnected with the bio individuality. It's like they don't know what serves them. So, how are we going to really speak about integration if we haven't really identified the components? So, within the No Hustle Club, what I've created is a virtual well-being club where I teach three main factors, or let's say we come learn and practice three main things in order to get all these components into the equation of a well-grounded, well-being, human. And those are breath work, yoga nidra guided meditation, and coaching. And why do I focus on these three? To come from a health approach, breath work as that one tool that serves you to upregulate, downregulate, improve your sleep, even help you with your appetite. And then yoga nidra guided meditation as that one tool that guides you into the journey within, to understand that all your answers are just right there. You just need to find that pathway to tap within, to go get it. Meaning, you don't need to rely on outside sources nor outside gurus. No one needs to come tell you what is best for you because you already know it. But if you don't know where the source of the information is, then how are you going to, go tap and take? And then, of course, coaching, be that one, practice, that one instrument that we use to get into that highest potential that gets us to grow and evolve. So within the club, that's exactly what we do. And I just focus on founders because the burnout amongst startups, founders has a connotation that we haven't yet touched upon. And it's a sort of shame. We don't speak about it because we're supposed to be superhumans, and because we're leaders, we cannot show weakness. And that is, I call BS on that. The more you speak about your strength and your weakness, same, the more vulnerable you are, the more human you are, the more appealing you are, because no one has all the answers. We're all always trying to put our best foot forward to get it done. And when we're founding or trying to do a company, or trying to put a project out there, or we're trying to grow a team, or we're pitching that next, round of seed capital, and something deep inside is not aligned, well, guess what? People will tell. there's something off. It's not that we're blind. The problem is that we don't know how to identify what that is. Hence, taking off that shame from the equation, that when we are stressed out or we're feeling vulnerable or that, there's something off, we cannot speak about it, is of utmost importance. And that's why I just choose to, speak to founders, and all my, let's say, marketing efforts and sales efforts are just for this group of people, because they're my people. We, have been there. We speak the same language.
Amazing.
Very cool. Very cool. So we will, of course, add all of your information to the show notes. Are there any final thoughts about your mission, or anything else you'd like to wrap up with?
Yes. Something that we haven't touched upon, and I would love to leave people with, is permission slip to set boundaries. Because that's the one thing that I feel we sort of sabotage ourselves when it's so simple. I like to say saying no is sexy. It's just sexy because it just makes you shine. When you have strong boundaries, when you know how to limit what you're capable of doing, what you're willing to give, and what's your commitment, that boundary allows room for you to grow and allows others to exist within your space. So there's growth. It's a win-win across. When we don't know how to set boundaries straight, and we let others push their interests on top of yours, it's just like we're coming into the hustle, that push and push toggle story that I don't agree with. I don't understand it. Let's put it this way. I just like to say, learn how to dance, speaking your truth and setting your boundaries. And in that dance, everyone is going to commit to your mission, because it's just impressive when people have boundaries and they're openly speaking about them, and you get on board with that mission because it's just good for you and for them. And if we just really give ourselves that permission slip to ditch the hustle, set boundaries, and prioritize self-care, I think, my friend, we're on a winning proposition here.
That's awesome. I love that you say that saying no is sexy, because I always tell my clients, when you say yes to others all the time, you're basically saying no to yourself. And I think when you have that realization of like, oh, wait a minute, if I'm saying yes to everyone, what am I left with? I'm left depleted, and I'm left, without energy, and I'm left without the passion to even go home and be with my family and have that energy for them. I think that's when it dawns on people. And when you say no is sexy, it kind of reminds me of, I don't remember who told me this, but, some men find it sexy not to see the cleavage because they can use their imagination, right? So it's kind of like this whole aspect of like, we're saying no and you're going to keep, in your imagination what it would be like if I said yes, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm definitely, in my 20s and 30s, I was definitely a yes person. And I think that had to do a lot with my ADHD, where like it was a dopamine hit, something new. Yes, I will be in part of this new activity. Of course, yes, I will do this. I will do it. I will do it. I will do it. And of course, it got me into a lot of beautiful things, but it also made it so difficult that I would kind of overdo it, not to the point of burnout, but where I'm going, okay, yeah, no, I need to start to say, to prioritize my yeses is what I say. Prioritize my yes. But well, Andrea, this was a lovely conversation about hustle culture and why you have this beautiful mission to spread the word about how you can be a founder, you can start your own business, you can be a predominant person in your business with by having these boundaries, by giving yourself these, let's say, healthy gates, and then also teaching people how to actually self-care. I know that word is tossed around a lot, but that's exactly what we're talking about, is prioritizing yourself. And I think this was a really great conversation, and I'm really happy to have met you, and thank you very much for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you for having me. This has been a wonderful conversation, and it's rare to be in a room, even if it's virtual, with IIN health coaches. So, hurrah to that. Really, thank you so much for the invitation and for a great talk.
Thanks. So, a reminder to everyone that our podcast can now be found on several different platforms. So you can watch it as via a live stream on YouTube, Facebook, and occasionally LinkedIn. And of course, you can also find the audio versions on your favorite podcasting platform. And this is also a reminder that Donna and I do this out of the blood, sweat, and tears of our own bodies, and we do not have any sponsors. And so if you have found value in this episode and would like to help us out, we have a link on the screen and also in the show notes to buy us a cup of tea. And this would definitely help just pay for a little bit of overhead, like the platform we're using to stream on. So with that, we really appreciate everyone that has joined us today, and those of you who are listening to this in the future. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.